Welcome to our deep dive. And today we're going to be looking back at the legacy of Drummer magazine.
Oh, yeah, Drummer.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, and it ran for an impressive 24 years from 1975 to 1999.
Wow.
And it really played a huge role in shaping gay popular culture, and especially the leather culture.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, we've got excerpts from the memoir Gay Pioneers. The full title is actually Gay Pioneers, How Drummer Magazine Shaped Gay Popular Culture in 1965 to 1999. And this was written by one of Drummer's own editors, Jack Fritscher.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to be reading through some of that today and kind of talking about what we find.
Yeah, sounds good.
And through his eyes, we're going to kind of get a glimpse into the magazine's world and everything from its impact on gay masculinity to police raids to the rise of video and adult entertainment.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating to me is that Drummer emerged during a time, before the internet, before social media as we know it.
Yeah.
And it served as this vital platform for a community that was largely ignored or misrepresented by the mainstream media.
Yeah, it's amazing to consider it as like a pre-internet social network.
Absolutely.
And speaking of scale,
Oh, yeah.
get this, if you stacked all 214 issues of Drummer,
Wow.
it'd be over 3 feet tall and weigh 120 pounds.
That's wild.
And laid end to end, it would stretch 64 yards, which is 2/3 of a football field.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just this massive amount of content, and yeah, it's impressive to think about.
Yeah, it's a powerful image. It speaks to the sheer volume of content and the magazine's reach.
Yeah.
Fritscher estimates a readership of about 100,000 per issue,
Wow.
totaling 21 million readers over its lifetime.
Really?
So it's not a niche publication. It had a significant impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Drummer started in Los Angeles in 1975 under founding editor Gene Barney.
Okay.
But just a year later, things took kind of a dramatic turn
Oh.
when the LAPD raided a Drummer-sponsored slave auction.
Wow.
And this event nearly shut the magazine down and sparked a legal battle that really speaks volumes about the social climate at the time.
It really does. The raid highlights the clash between this emerging gay leather community
Yeah.
and the prevailing conservative attitudes, particularly within law enforcement.
Yeah.
And it also reveals Drummer's audacious spirit right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Their willingness to push boundaries and confront authority.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then there's John Embry, the publisher.
Oh, yeah.
He was known for his business acumen,
Right.
but also for being incredibly frugal and for his tendency to exploit legal loopholes. It makes you wonder how these traits influenced the magazine's direction.
Well, Embry's approach, it definitely had an impact on the magazine.
Right.
His frugality sometimes translated into cutting corners.
Yeah.
And his legal maneuvering kept Drummer in a constant state of precariousness.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He was also known for his blacklist, a practice of banning contributors
Wow.
who dared to work with rival publications.
Really?
Yeah, and this really underscores the competitive landscape of gay publishing at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in 1977, Jack Fritscher enters the scene as editor. And he had this ambition to elevate Drummer's literary quality. He even establishes this network of writers and artists known as the Drummer Salon,
Yeah.
which included names like Robert Mapplethorpe and Tom of Finland.
Oh, wow. So Fritscher brought a new dimension to Drummer then.
Yeah.
His vision sought to move beyond simply documenting the leather scene
Right.
towards creating a space for artistic expression and intellectual discourse. And his efforts to cultivate this salon of writers and artists really speaks to his desire to make Drummer a platform for a broader cultural conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And Drummer wasn't afraid to push boundaries with its content. They featured depictions of BDSM fisting, even Nazi imagery.
Wow.
It's hard to imagine a mainstream publication today tackling such sensitive topics.
Oh, it's true. You have to consider the historical context here.
Yeah.
These were topics that were deeply taboo, not just in mainstream society, but even within the gay community itself.
Yeah.
And Drummer's willingness to engage with these topics, no matter how controversial, really challenged prevailing norms
Yeah.
and forced people to confront uncomfortable truths about sexuality.
It really makes you consider like the fine line between freedom of expression and social responsibility.
Yeah.
Drummers certainly didn't shy away from pushing those limits.
No, they didn't.
And they didn't stop there. They also explored complex issues of race and gender, covering leather women and people of color, and embracing gender-bending drag.
That's what's so intriguing about Drummer.
Yeah.
They were tackling these issues of intersectionality long before the term even gained widespread use.
Yeah.
And their inclusion of diverse voices and perspectives within the leather community reflects a growing awareness of the complexities of identity and the interconnectedness of social justice movements.
And all of this was happening against the backdrop of drummers' move from Los Angeles to San Francisco in 1977.
Right.
What prompted that shift?
Well, San Francisco was a hub for counterculture.
Yeah.
And a burgeoning center for the leather community.
Yeah.
And the city's more liberal atmosphere compared to Los Angeles made it a natural fit for drummer. The move also reflects a strategic decision to align the magazine more closely with a community that was rapidly evolving and gaining visibility.
It's clear that Drummer was deeply intertwined with the social and cultural shifts of the time.
Yeah.
It was a publication that both reflected and shaped the evolving landscape of gay identity and especially leather culture.
Absolutely.
A publication that sparked conversations, pushed boundaries, and gave a voice to a community that was often silenced.
Exactly. And as we move forward in our deep dives, it will be fascinating to see how Drummer navigated the challenges and triumphs of the years to come.
Right.
Particularly in the face of the AIDS crisis and the rise of video technology.
That's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay.
So stay tuned as we uncover more of Drummer's complex and compelling story.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive on Drummer Magazine.
Now, as we kind of delve deeper into Drummer's world, it's important to remember that they weren't just chronicling the leather scene.
Right.
They were engaging with its most contentious aspects.
Absolutely.
Take, for instance, their depiction of fisting.
Oh, yeah.
It was a practice that even many in the gay community considered taboo at the time.
For sure.
So Drummer's decision to feature it wasn't simply about pushing boundaries, was it?
No, not at all. You see, it was a direct challenge to the prevailing medical and psychological views of the time.
Okay.
Which often, pathologized gay sexuality. So by portraying fisting not as a deviant act, but as a part of the spectrum of human sexual experience, Drummer pushed back against the idea that there was one right way to be gay.
So they were essentially reclaiming the narrative.
Exactly.
Refusing to let others define their experiences for them.
Yeah. And they went even further, exploring practices like coprophagio, which was and still is highly stigmatized.
Wow.
And their willingness to depict such taboo subjects, even within the context of BDSM, really speaks to their commitment to showcasing the full spectrum of human desire, no matter how challenging or unconventional.
It's as though they were saying, this is part of our reality and we're not going to shy away from it.
Yeah.
And this fearless approach extended to other areas as well, didn't it?
It did.
Like their run-in with the gay Nazi party.
Oh, yeah. That was a particularly controversial episode in Drummer's history.
I can imagine.
The magazine had published some content featuring Nazi imagery.
Wow.
Which, given the historical trauma associated with Nazism,
of course,
was met with fierce criticism.
Yeah.
And, the gay Nazi party, seeing this as an affront to their identity, actually sued Drummer.
It's just such a fascinating clash of ideologies.
It really is.
You have a publication dedicated to pushing the boundaries of sexual liberation, facing off against a group appropriating the symbols of one of history's most oppressive regimes. It speaks to the complexities and contradictions that sometimes exist within marginalized communities.
Precisely. It's a reminder that even within movements fighting for social justice, there can be deeply divergent views and internal conflicts.
And Drummer, by its very nature, found itself at the center of many such debates. One of them being their complex relationship with feminism.
Right.
Fritscher uses the term a feminist in his memoir to describe what he saw as a clash between feminist-aligned gay men and those who embraced a more masculine identity.
Right.
It seems there was a lot of tension and infighting within the gay community at the time.
There was. It was a period of immense change and upheaval.
Yeah.
The gay rights movement was gaining momentum.
Right.
But there were also these internal debates about representation, identity, and strategy.
Yeah.
And Drummer, with its focus on leather culture and often hypermasculine imagery, became a lightning rod for these tensions.
Yeah.
And Fritscher felt that Drummer was unfairly targeted by some who saw it as representing a toxic form of masculinity that was at odds with feminist principles.
Yeah, it highlights the challenges of navigating intersectionality.
Yeah.
Recognizing that individuals can hold multiple identities that sometimes come into conflict.
Absolutely.
And then in the midst of all this, the AIDS crisis hit.
Yeah.
Which had a devastating impact on the gay community as a whole.
For sure.
How did Drummer respond?
The AIDS epidemic was a turning point for Drummer.
Yeah.
It was a time of immense grief and loss.
Mm.
Many of their contributors and readers were directly affected by the disease.
Yeah.
And Drummer responded by becoming a source of information and support.
Okay.
They published articles about AIDS, provided information about safe sex practices, and even helped raise funds for AIDS research and treatment.
So they used their platform to not only reflect the realities of the crisis, but also to actively engage in the fight against it.
Absolutely. They saw themselves as more than just publishers.
Yeah.
They were advocates, allies, and friends to a community facing an unprecedented crisis.
And it really was unprecedented.
It was a testament to their commitment to their readership,
Right.
and their understanding of the power of media to affect change.
And all of this was happening as a new technology was emerging.
Right.
That would fundamentally alter the media landscape.
Yeah.
Video. How did Drummer navigate this shift?
Well, John Embry, ever the shrewd businessman, saw the rise of video in the adult entertainment industry as an opportunity.
Okay.
And he tried to capitalize on this trend, even starting to produce his own videos.
Wow.
But his efforts met with mixed success.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of traditional media outlets struggled with that transition to the digital age.
Yeah.
It was a disruptive force.
It was.
And many weren't prepared for it.
Right. Embry, despite his business savvy, just couldn't quite grasp the nuances of this new medium.
Yeah.
His focus remained on monetization, which sometimes clashed with the creative vision of the editors.
Right.
And contributed to internal conflicts within the magazine.
Yeah, and these conflicts, coupled with the changing cultural landscape and the rise of the internet, ultimately led to Drummer's decline and closure in 1999.
It was a confluence of factors, really.
Yeah.
The AIDS crisis had taken a toll on their readership. Internal conflicts drained resources and creative energy. And the internet was beginning to offer new platforms for content creation and community building.
Right.
And Drummer, despite its groundbreaking legacy, struggled to adapt to this rapidly changing world.
It's a reminder that even the most groundbreaking publications are not immune to the forces of change.
For sure.
It makes you wonder what happened to the people
Yeah.
who were instrumental in shaping Drummer.
Mm.
Where did they go after the magazine closed its doors?
That's a question we'll explore further in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll delve into the individual stories of some of Drummer's key figures, and we'll examine the magazine's lasting legacy on the leather community and beyond.
We'll come back to the final part of our deep dive into Drummer magazine.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey exploring its triumphs, its controversies, and its lasting impact.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up, I think we need to address kind of the aftermath.
Yeah.
What happened to Drummer's archives after the magazine folded?
Well, that's a question that has sparked considerable debate,
Yeah.
There's a strong argument for preserving the archives.
Right.
And making them accessible to researchers because they offer invaluable insights into, LGBTQ history,
Yeah.
particularly the evolution of leather culture.
Of course.
But concerns about privacy also come into play.
Right. Especially considering that many individuals featured in Drummer use pseudonyms or might not have consented to having their images or stories archived. It raises a complicated ethical dilemma.
It does.
Balancing historical preservation with the right to privacy.
Exactly. And unfortunately, the fate of the archives remains somewhat unclear. Some materials have been donated to institutions like the Leather Archives and Museum in Chicago.
Okay.
Which is a positive step.
Yeah.
But a significant portion of the archives is unaccounted for.
Wow.
Which highlights the ongoing challenges of safeguarding these historical treasures.
Yeah, it would be a real loss if those pieces of history were to just disappear.
Absolutely.
Now, shifting focus to the individuals who made Drummer what happened to the contributors after the magazine closed.
Well, many continue to work in publishing.
Okay.
Some authoring books.
Right.
Well, others founded their own magazines or websites, carrying on Drummer's legacy in new ways.
Yeah, it seems like the spirit of Drummer lived on in their individual pursuits.
It did.
And speaking of legacies, how would you describe the state of the leather community today, decades after Drummer's final issue?
Well, the leather community is thriving.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's more diverse and inclusive than ever before, embracing individuals from various backgrounds and identities. And the internet has played a significant role in connecting leather folk globally.
Yeah.
Fostering a sense of community that transcends geographical boundaries.
So in a way, drummers' role as a pre-internet connector
Yeah.
has been amplified and expanded by the digital age.
Absolutely.
And they really laid the groundwork for a community that continues to grow and evolve.
Precisely. And while Drummer might be gone, its influence is undeniable.
Yeah.
It was a publication that dared to push boundaries, challenge norms,
Right.
and give voice to a marginalized community,
Yeah.
paving the way for greater visibility and acceptance.
And it sparked conversations, it ignited passions, and left an indelible mark on the cultural landscape.
For sure.
I mean, Drummer's story is a testament to the power of media to shape identities,
Yeah,
foster communities, and ultimately drive social change.
absolutely. And as we conclude this deep dive, I think it's crucial to remember that Drummer's story, with all its complexities and contradictions, is an integral part of LGBTQ history, one that deserves continued study and reflection.
Absolutely. And for those who want to delve deeper into this fascinating world,
Yeah.
Jack Fritscher's memoir, Gay Pioneers, offers a treasure trove of firsthand accounts and insights.
Right.
Additionally, resources like the Leather Archives and Museum provide valuable perspectives on leather history and culture.
Great resources, yeah.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring the rise and fall of this iconic publication.
Yeah.
Drummer magazine may be a relic of the past, but its legacy continues to resonate, reminding us of the importance of challenging norms, celebrating diversity, and fighting for a more inclusive and accepting world.
Well said.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Drummer magazine. We hope you've gained a new appreciation for this complex and captivating piece of history.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.